What is going on YouTube? It is FlopFish here, and welcome to a brand new hut series I'm doing. This is going to be a weekly series, and it's just going to be, it's based off of FIFA series done by quite a few people, and it's going to be about builds, like roster builds. And so every week, someone could give me like different players to build around. Like, for example, you could say I want to have Zetterberg on my team and I have 150k pucks after I have Zetterberg, or something like that, or 200k pucks including Zetterberg, and just give me ideas of what to build a team around. I won't be able to do them in the game all the time. I will probably have Photoshop some of the players in there later on, just because it does make it easier on me. I'm not waiting on the hot market, and so this one I tried to build for under 100k, and I did so pretty successfully. And this is a team I would have no problem running with at all. So your lines look fairly solid. Your first line's fairly solid here. You got Patrick Sharp on the left side. He's a lot better than what his overall stats are. Even though he's an 86, he's actually faster than what it says, especially when you play with him. You got Matt Duchene up the middle. Duchene's very fast, very good on the draw. He's a very good player to have. And when you pair him with a sniper like Michael Grabner, who's one of the best lower overall players who you can get for cheap, it's going to be a pretty lethal combination. So this line you can actually pick up for probably 33k in total. Sharp's around 10, Duchene's 20, and Grabner you can pick up from 2 to 3k, so somewhere's in there. The defense is actually very similar to what I run, and that is going to be Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Erik Johnson. Ekman-Larsson's by far one of the best defensemen in the game. Never mind like start of the weeks and stuff. He's the regular one's probably one of the best defensemen in the game. His shot is insane. And I paired him up with Erik Johnson, to get the chemistry, and because you can see if you put 100% change team cards on this, the chemistry would be 100. It isn't right now because I'm not going to go out and buy change team cards right away. But so Ekman-Larsson, one of the best defenders in this game, and Erik Johnson's slowly catching on. He's got very good checking. He's a very good player. He's a lot faster paired with Ekman-Larsson, and Ekman-Larsson's pretty dang fast in this game as well. I'll go into my goalie selection right here. So I have Nick Backstrom here, but the main goalie I'd actually run would be Justin Peters. You can pick him up for like 300 pucks, and he's probably my favorite goalie to run, other than Team of the Week Bishop, who you can rarely find anymore, so I'm not really going to include him in here just because he's very, very hard to find. Now we go into the second line, and similar to the first line, we've got this very, very solid line. And so altogether, everything you see on the front page here, taking account into these guys, so you got 1k there, probably. Johnson you could probably get from 2 to 5k, so we'll go with 3k. I've seen him go high, I've seen him go low. Mine sold for around 2,000, so you could probably get him for around that. So you could probably get this entire front line plus the goalie, Peters, for around 35k, which is pretty solid. And they're always available, which is a nice thing. The next line, you have Alex Semin centering, you have Nick Backstrom centering Semin and St. Louis. St. Louis is really, really fast in this game. Semin's an absolute monster in this game. And then Backstrom's just a nice little supporting player who is pretty decent on face-off draws, and he provides you with some speed. He has a quality shot in this game as well. And once again, he's not going to run you up a ton of pucks. You can find him for 2.5, 3k fairly easily. St. Louis, you can actually pick him up right now for around 15k, I believe, is what the going rate on him is. And then Semin is actually around an 8k to 10k. You can steal him at 6 type of player, and he's actually really good. So once again, fairly solid line there. And so like if you go right now, current market prices are around 15 to 16. So 15, add about 3, 18. This is about 20. I'd price it around 26k. Probably more like 27 or 28. And then on defense, you have another fairly good defensive pairing. You have Brian Campbell, who's under 2k, I'm pretty sure, and then Nick Schultz, who I would be shocked if he gets to 1k. Not on the right side for Schultz, but nonetheless, his pairing works very well. Two very fast defenders. Schultz has a really good shot despite the overall, and Campbell's an absolute beast as well. We're going to the third line, and this is where you're going to notice I kind of dwindled down on or kind of toned down what my prices are going to be here. And for 100K, the first two lines generally for me take up the biggest percentage of my money or of my pucks, and then my third line is probably my fourth line actually probably is normally a little bit bigger than my third line as far as pucks go, just because I want to get the good quality grinders and power forwards on the fourth line. But for the sake of this one, here I'll just show you these lines right now. I went with a bit of a cheaper fourth line and a bit of a more expensive offensive third line. Normally my third line's fairly defensive, like fairly overall, but I left that for my fourth line because I really like the looks of this line. And Gerby's an absolute speedster in this game. Very good player, very cheap to pick up. So like probably you could probably get him for under 500 bucks. Peugeot Team of the Week is an absolute monster. 8 to 10K on him, no problem. I'd pick him up if I were you. Even if you don't use him a lot, he's still worth it. He's an absolute beast in this game. And then Verbata's a very underrated player. He has a great shot. His defensive stats aren't great, but he's got solid offensive stats. And in the actual game, he's one of my more favorite early players to run, especially on a classic cut team. Now we'll drop out back to the defense here, and the defense is actually a little bit bigger. This is probably the most expensive defensive pairing in Pikkinen and Boschman. Boschman's probably 6K or so, and then Pikkinen's around, I want to say 1K, probably under. But yeah, a guy who's an offensive defenseman and a defensive defenseman, they go well together. Boschman's pretty good at checking, and then Pikkinen's just overall, he's actually a fairly solid offensive defenseman, and he's a very good complement, and he's like really balding. But anyways, fourth line, you have probably one of my favorite combination in the game of players. You have TJ Gagliardi, who's an absolute beast at one-timers. You have Darren Helm, who just rips through the ice. He's really fast, one of the best checkers, has some of the most accurate poke checking in the game as well, in my opinion. Also fairly good on the draws and fairly good offensively. Then you have Pavelski, little Joe Pavelski here. Fairly solid player again, worth more than what he goes for. He can go for 5K, but you can find him probably for like 3, somewhere's in there, 2 to 3, or probably 3 to 4. But he's really, really solid, and I highly recommend him once again, especially paired up with Gagliardi. These two, Pavelski and Gagliardi, are both really good at one-timers, and Helm's pretty decent at distributing the puck. So that's kind of the team build here. Once again, you can kind of find all these. You can find this entire team for under 100K. Your most expensive player is going to be Duchesne, but there are enough of them out there that you could probably steal him at a bit lower of a price than 20K. And then there's St. Louis. Those are probably your two most expensive players. Then Sharp. And your goalies, Backstrom's a fairly solid goalie, but I don't spend a ton of pucks on goalies because unless there's certain goalies like Bishop, I really just don't see the point because most of them are actually the same. And I find Peters really, really good for his money. He plays probably as good as Backstrom, if not better. And so that's why I use him. Anyways, guys, hopefully this helps you out. And if you have 100K pucks kicking around or some of these players and you want to try this team out, feel free to do so. Anyways, guys, this is episode number 1 of Team Builds. This was a team under 100K. Send me your recommendations for the next episode, and I will have it out on Thursday. Anyways, guys, take it easy, and peace out.